Hello and welcome to MMPTV. I'm Audrey Trainham.
And I'm Miguel Andrade. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. The late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote this in his book, Strength to Love, published in 1963. In the past months, we have seen all throughout the world where exactly people stand in times of challenge and controversy. During the final years of his life, Martin Luther King marked a shift from an era of civil rights to an era of human rights with the launch of the Poor People's Campaign. He visited with sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, who had been organizing to fight back against unjust working conditions. The way that regular people were standing up for themselves and creating a united front caught the attention of Martin Luther King, and so he decided to stand with them. The sanitation workers of today are rising up all over the world and coming together to deal with conditions and measures that have been set up as the end-all solutions to the economic crisis. Whether it be layoffs of firefighters and police officers, attacks on the rights of workers, hikes in tuition costs, cuts in school funding, massive deportations, or government suppressing popular uprisings, sometimes with deadly force, none of these measures get to the root cause of all these problems. In the face of these struggles, we see that people all over the world are coming together and fighting for a real solution and a just society. MMPTV tells the untold stories of those uniting across struggles to build a movement to end poverty.
No one has to live the way we have lived.
Y es triste ver a la gente no viviendo en esas condiciones cuando supuestamente estamos en el país más rico del mundo.
The time has come for a movement that's about the city but is also bigger than the city, because this is bigger than the city. This is a global crisis.
People have been thrust into poverty who never was in poverty before.
It's on the forefront, what everybody's going through nationwide.
We're all different, but we're all fighting for like to end poverty on different levels in different ways. Stay strong and you can win.
So let's get started with some headlines. In Egypt, after nearly a month of peaceful protesting and unwavering demands by the majority of Egyptian citizens, President Mubarak stepped down after nearly 30 years in office. Protesting continues in other parts of the Middle East, such as Tunisia, Yemen, Bahrain, and Libya, where current President Gaddafi has ordered an army to use deadly force against protesters. In the UK, students and labor unions have been uniting together to protest the government's passage of a law to raise university tuitions from £3,290 to £9,000, or around $14,200 a year. In Wisconsin, thousands of union workers, students, and other supporters have taken hold of the state capitol to protest the bill proposed by Governor Walker to take away union collective bargaining rights. Hundreds of cops were sent into the state capitol building to remove protesters, but instead decided to stand with them, saying, "We know what's right from wrong, we'll be sleeping here with you." Also, to prevent a quorum, 14 state senators have left the state of Wisconsin. Here in Philadelphia, students have been organizing walkouts across the city to protest prison-like conditions in schools and to demand that their voices be heard. After winning a case against the Philadelphia Parking Authority that found rules and regulations to be unlawful, the Unified Taxi Workers Alliance of Pennsylvania is working to put in place a new set of rules and regulations and to ensure proper regulation of the PPA. In Camden, as many as 383 workers, around half of the police force and one-third of the firefighters, were laid off. Philadelphia now has a mutual aid agreement with Camden, which calls for Philadelphia firefighters to respond to Camden fires, a move that local firefighters say would undercut their union brothers and sisters across the river. These layoffs that happen in Camden are part of a wide range of cost-cutting measures that are being implemented across the country.
Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, firefighters across the state are fighting for a bill that would make it easier for them to get proper medical care and security for their families.
I'm Tim McShay, Vice President of Local 22, and today is our annual Thanksgiving luncheon for the widows and turkey giveaway. And basically we do this every year for the widows of firefighters, because we believe that they gave as much sacrifice as their husbands did. There are some women in here whose husbands died in the line of duty, but the majority of them are women who were married to firefighters whose lives were cut short through illnesses that came from the job. So we're just going to give them a day out, let them enjoy themselves, and enjoy ourselves with them.
Hi, I'm Renee. This is my mom, Mary. My father, Harry McDevitt, was a fireman for 29 years, and we come for the past 8 years because it makes us feel so good. We want to thank every fireman who does this, because you have no idea what it means to these women that no matter, even though my father's gone, somebody is looking out for my mother.
This year, the luncheon held a greater significance. Firefighters and their families were waiting for Governor Rendell to sign the Cancer Presumption Act, which would lift the burden on firefighters and their families to pay medical costs when they contract certain cancers from their work. 33 other states have already passed similar laws that acknowledge cancer as a common on-the-job danger for firefighters.
Every job you go on with, whether it be hazardous materials, whether it be a fire, whether it be an auto accident, or whether you're in your station and you're having to breathe in the diesel fumes, these all contribute to all sorts of cancers that firefighters are diagnosed with every year. And this presumption law will give the onus to the city to prove we did not get it from the job.
Bill Galt, president of Local 22, explains that the process for firefighters and their families for proving they contracted illnesses from the job can be a long process and nearly impossible.
In the state law right now, I have cancer. I go to a work comp hearing. I have to prove exactly what fire and when I got it, which is impossible to do in our job. I've probably been to 500-600 fires.
This is a process that Pat Creeville knows all too well.
My name is Pat Creeville, and my husband was a fireman for 30 years, and he passed away 6 years ago.
Pat's husband passed away from hepatitis C. She explained to MMPTV that he contracted the illness at a time when firefighters were not given the proper protection to work with people and save lives. He contracted hepatitis C while on the job. She has been fighting for 6 years to prove that her husband's death was caused by his line of work. She is still waiting to receive benefits to help with medical bills.
It's nice that people remember, and because we never forget. Never. There's not a day goes by that we ever forget.
Since the luncheon, the governor vetoed the cancer presumption bill. Firefighters across the state say they will continue to fight for this important piece of legislation.
As firefighters keep fighting for financial and safety needs they deserve, security guards in Philadelphia are also fighting for a livable wage and a safe working environment that will allow them to do their jobs. Like many workers across the city, many security guards are struggling to provide for themselves and their families. With little to no job security or benefits and poor working conditions, many security guards earn just enough to be ineligible for public safety nets.
There's many reasons why I'm organizing with my coworkers to try to better us within Ala Barton. We need health benefits. My son is constantly asking me, did I get my insurance yet? I was denied by welfare because they said I make too much. I can't afford to get Ala Barton's benefits, so they call them benefits. It's not benefiting me or my family.
On January the 17th, 2011, SEIU 32BJ set out to let security companies know they are now organizing security guards to help improve their lives. Congressmen, city council members, clergy, community leaders, and others from across the city were there to help build support and stand alongside security guards.
A city that divides the rich and the poor is not a good city. This city can't be a great city or a green city if the working class of the city of Philadelphia don't rise.
We can stand up for security guards because in so many important ways, they stand up for all of us and for all of our families every day. And in the spirit of Dr. King, let us understand that even as we face those headwinds, that with a certainty we will succeed.
And it's not just the security officers. We got, by supporting them, we're supporting ourselves. We can't continue where 25% of Philadelphians live below the poverty level. We can't do that. And organizing security officers will help ease that a little bit. It's not the end of the problem, but it starts to resolve part of the problem.
Before joining the union, I was making only $8.50 an hour. I had no sick days, no health care benefits, and no respect or dignity. I really struggled to make ends meet and pay bills. Life was really rough for me at that time. But now, with the union, we're making $15.35 an hour with sick leave, full health care insurance, and we finally get the dignity and respect that we deserve.
There are security officers in this town who make as little as $9.50 an hour. Now, obviously, that's better than nothing. It's better than not having a job, but is it right? Should we be saying, thank God I have a job, or God help me make my job better? It's not good enough to have poverty jobs in the city of Philadelphia. It's not good enough. And we're going to fight to make sure that the jobs are better.
The battle's not over, the victory's not won. I look forward to the struggle. Thank you.
As security guards come together with other public sector workers to fight, we see Philadelphia also coming together to protest against unjust deportation of members from the Cambodian community.
The struggle is not over. It's far from over. This is just the beginning.
On September 21, 2010, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE, detained 4 members of Philadelphia's Cambodian community. They have been incarcerated since then, leaving families and young children to suffer their absences. ICE plans to deport 400,000 immigrants this fiscal year throughout the country as a result of 2 1996 immigration laws. These laws, the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act and the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act, have enabled the deportation of countless immigrants and refugees nationwide. Under these laws, refugees and other non-citizens can be deported for committing any crime designated as an aggravated felony, which now includes misdemeanors such as shoplifting.
I think it's important to remember that people change, right? Like that everybody deserves a second chance, and that when someone makes a mistake and they serve their time and they come out and they are reformed and want to do good in the community and be good parents, that really stands for something. That's a huge social change in itself, right? And that we should be respecting that as society, not punishing people for doing that.
In honor of Martin Luther King Jr., on January 17, 2011, the One Love movement organized a day of action. Over 300 people, including students, parents, clergy, legislators, and members of the Media Mobilizing Project Network, braved the bitter cold and marched from the Arch Street Methodist Church to the ICE building on 16th and Callow Hill Streets. They left signs and ribbons with messages in support of the 4 detained men and demanded that they be allowed to rejoin their families.
If these men are deported, that we're here supporting today, if they're deported, their families will be forced to struggle. And for what? These deportations will not bring back our security or prosperity. They will not make our schools better or create jobs with decent pay and benefits. They will not get the boss to stop giving you more hours for less pay. This will not bring your home back. This will not decrease the cost of your utilities that are rising. It will not help you pay your rent or your mortgage, or for your children's health care.
We're leaders with the One Love movement, which is a nonprofit that's basically trying to, educate the younger generation and try to get the message out to our peoples. Like the stuff that's happening right now in America, I mean, it's not just basically affecting the Cambodian people, but it's more broader, it's more bigger right now. So they're just deporting people, just because they had a criminal background. They're able to take them out from their home, from their families, and legally deport them, which is, a sad thing, because what they leave behind is their kids and their family, and without that, without no father figure in the household, I think that's what really breaks down and affects our society as the kids growing up.
We're here, to stand up for injustice, to stand up for our rights as humans, as people living together in this society.
But what Martin Luther King stood for was fighting injustice, real injustice, not just celebrating past people who are long since dead who fought injustice, but dealing with current injustices.
And when there is a part of our community that seeks to take our brothers and sisters, our fathers and mothers, and our children away because they can, not because it's right, That is a day we have to stand and protest.
Speakers at the rally gave context to the experiences of these men who came to the United States in the wake of the Vietnam War in the 1970s and 80s, when thousands of Cambodian refugees fled the genocide of the Khmer Rouge and sought peace in the United States. They explained how most Cambodian families arriving in the United States during this time faced severe poverty and a broken education system.
When my family and I came over to America, we came not to the ocean of isolation that many refugees faced decades ago, but we came to outstretched arms of hospitality. But we also have to keep in mind that decades ago, when the first Cambodian American refugees came to this country, they came not to these established institutions. They came to an America where everything was new, and they came to an America that is much different than the America of today.
What he was about in the last years of his life was dealing with people who were being dispossessed, people who were being impoverished, and this is what's happening in the richest country in the world. We find that people are being evicted from their homes, they're being foreclosed upon, people are being deported. We're seeing all these injustices happening right now, and more than ever, the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King is alive in these kinds of protests against these conditions. And so what the people are doing here in this cold weather, coming out and taking a stand, is where I think Martin Luther King would be right now. He would be writing this mark because this is what's right. And now is the time to do what's right with the conditions as they are in this country, and it's affecting every race. Poor whites, poor blacks, poor Latinos, poor Cambodians, Asians, you name it. All of us need to come together. And it's not just affecting the poor, it's affecting the so-called middle class, affecting everybody.
We must build a movement that can free these men and all the people of this country from the chains that have kept us from having good and dignified lives. This is the legacy of King that we're walking in.
We're here in the Golden Marching because one of the things we feel that all young people should do is to stand up for what they see is injustice.
I feel as though that everything starts with us students. People say that, oh, we're students, we can't do anything really, but I care to differ.
One of the things Martin Luther King said is, if there's an injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. We're here today because we see an injustice in the immigration system. We see that good people are being deported without a fair and individualized hearing. I just think that immigrants, regardless of legal status, deserve the same rights as any American citizens. And Martin Luther King said in his speech that anyone who lives within the bounds of the United States can never be considered a stranger within its bounds.
The whole Martin Luther King, to some people, is just narrowly viewed as being for a certain race of people. And really, I don't think that's the case at all. I think the case was for a lot of issues. It just happened to be civil rights was the biggest issue of the time, which was probably the biggest issue for over 100 years. And so now we can move forward with, the entire picture, which is just the struggling human being up against, a small force with almost all the resources that we don't have. Living in a country that we have the right to protest, we have a right to take part in the process, and we have a right to live as decent human beings.
To talk more about these deportations, we're now joined with members of the One Love movement. Welcome, guys. So, what are your names?
Mia Leah.
Ray.
Rhea.
Touch. Cool. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks
for having us. And I was wondering if you guys could do some information about what the One Love movement is. Who are you guys? Where do you come from?
So we came together just this past fall and in the summer when there was a rise in deportations and detainments of Cambodian Americans in Philadelphia. A lot of those people that were detained and also deported were close friends, family members, people that have been around in the community for a long time, so it hit people really hard and felt like we needed to organize.
Yeah, it felt like we needed something like this within our community because there wasn't enough outlets that I knew of, that we knew of, so we figured that we do it ourselves, because if you want something done, it's better to get it done yourself.
Who came up with the idea of making the One Love movement?
We all just came together in a room, decided that we needed this for each other and to educate people.
Yeah, and we want people to know that One Love movement doesn't mean that it's just one cause, because the cause that we stand up for actually incorporates a lot of other issues that people fight about, so we understand the importance of having support. So we offer our support to other causes that are affected by this, situations.
Would you like to tell us about some of the issues that surround the One Love movement?
The budget for ICE, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which takes care of all the removal operations, is almost $6 billion of our national, the money that is supposed to be going to schools, that's supposed to be going to health care, that's supposed to be going to wages and things like that. It's not going to help families and help build communities. It's going to help, or going to break families apart instead.
$6 billion, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And this is coming at a time when we're hearing from, from government officials that there's not enough money to go around. I mean, it's crazy.
No money for education, and no money for firefighters.
Cops are getting laid off in Philly. They're crazy too now. Yeah. New Jersey is the same way. Well, on the East Coast, Jersey and Philadelphia, the unemployment rate is getting ridiculous.
What I don't understand is the amount of money that's being spent. And knowing that America is in $1 trillion deficit right now, shouldn't they be spending this money on other important things?
All the money they are spending on deportation, they can easily use it for after-school programs and stuff like that to keep the kids off the street. If you're wasting too much money on unnecessary stuff, and the kids are still suffering the same way, with or without the deportation. You know what I mean?
It's also the laws and the legislation that they're creating. What's happening now to Cambodian Americans and everybody else who came here that wasn't born here. Started in 1996. There was a set of laws that made it so that if you committed anything that falls under the category of an aggravated felony, which is defined by immigration law, and it includes things like misdemeanors and minor crimes, nonviolent crimes, all of those things after 1996 became deportable. So, and it didn't matter whether you committed it after 1996 or before, because the law itself is retroactive. So even if you committed that crime in 1984, you can still be deported for it, when the law didn't even exist, right? And also in 1996, they eliminated individualized hearings for people. So you can't be judged on the basis of your merit or your character, or how many kids you have, or that you have a spouse, or that you take care of elderly parents, or anything like that, or that you're even just a main income provider for your family. None of that. You don't get a forum to sit down and tell a judge, these are all the things about me, why my family needs me here. And you don't even get to say, I committed that crime 15 years ago, and I'm a changed person, And I think that goes back to what we believe about second chances, is that everybody deserves them.
People do change, and I think laws should change, and that's pretty much what we want. This issue, it affects people financially, emotionally, and it's not easy. Like kids can't grow up and have a healthy life if they're not happy. I mean, emotionally, if they're not healthy, they will not grow up to be productive people, I think. And I think that's important, because the younger people are important, because where will our future go? Like, we need to figure out, who's going to run this country, who's going to make these laws, and who's going to decide on, what's important in this country. And I think that's important, and it starts with the youth, and it starts with schools. A lot of it starts at home too. I mean, if the family is struggling, then the children can't concentrate. I mean, and the parents can't be parents fully if they're struggling, if they're living in poor conditions, or they're dealing with issues that are affecting them mentally.
And I think that ties back, like, what are we doing now, taking parents away from kids? What are we creating for our next generation? If we know all of this, and everything that we're saying here is true, why are we doing that to the next generation?
Would y'all like to tell us about the effects that deportation has on families?
Well, I could actually comment on that. Me personally, it has affected me. My boyfriend actually got detained in September. He committed a crime when he was 15 years old. No one got hurt. They actually charged him as an adult, and they gave him a deportation order to deport him back to Cambodia, where he has never even stepped foot in. He wasn't even born in Cambodia. he served like 6 years in jail. They released him on immigration supervision, and it is about 8 years later, and they're trying to deport him now. He's actually in detention right now. He's in a prison mixed with other prisoners. They're actually hanging on to him until they can deport him. It affects me and our kids. We actually have kids together. It's not easy in every way. Emotionally, it's not easy thing for me. Financially, it's not easy, you know, to have to pay a mortgage and you know, living expenses for 4 children. Every day, and I feel like every minute, I just think about what's gonna happen. Like, how are we gonna live? How will he live? How are our children gonna grow up?
And I know her husband, well, her boyfriend also. He's actually my cousin, and the situation, like, he was a minor when they charged him with this stuff, so he didn't really know nothing about the law and all that other stuff. So he just, you know, like kids do, they get in trouble. Like I said, if nobody's helping them during the after school time, you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna find ways to do this and do that. When not, you know, it's easier to catch a felony in the United States than it is to make money. If you commit a crime, I believe if you commit a crime, and then if you go straight on your path for the rest of your life, nobody should have to bother you. You know, he changed his life. Hey, I mean, it's not just her.
Yeah, it's not just me going through this. Yeah. There's like hundreds of thousands of other people. So it's not just the focus on it affecting one person. It's that one person times 500,000 other families. 500,000 other families struggling to pay their mortgage or put food on the table, and then that resorts to people having to resort to relying on the government to take care of their family. I mean, why should it be that way when there's parents who are willing to be there for their children and guide their children, and you just take them away? And like myself, like, it's not easy raising 4 kids on your own, and it's not easy to have to deal with helping him in the situation, the phone calls, the visits.
Shouldn't they give these people, if they know that they're gonna get sent back, shouldn't they allow these people to have time to prepare? that these men, they know that they know their fate, they know that they're gonna get sent back, so give them a chance to make things right, if they haven't, What are they gonna do in jail?
ICE, their big thing is that
we're
not releasing them because they're a threat to society. But we put out a petition signed by almost 1,000 people in the community saying that they weren't a threat to society and that we want them released. That was totally went unnoticed. We did everything we could to prove to them that those individuals in there aren't going to hurt us, but ICE can still do what they want without any accountability.
I know that you guys just recently, last January, you guys had a big mobilization. So could you guys speak a little bit about what happened in January?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we organized a rally on Martin Luther King Day. It's actually another member who's not here today decided that would be a good day to do it, and it was the perfect day to do it, because Martin Luther King stood for so many things, and above all, it was human rights and the right of a person to be treated with dignity. He also talked a lot about the difference between just and unjust laws, and that the laws that are just we respect, but the laws that are unjust, that tear us apart, we need to take down, and fight in whatever way we need to do that. So, yeah, we had like 300 people out.
Yeah, about that joined us that day to the march to the ICE Center, where we left a message for them, which is, I think it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to leave our voice there.
It was like everybody. It wasn't just people directly affected who were there. There were a lot of other people who were there that supported it too. So that just shows how how much it does affect everybody in the long run. It's not just people who were family that showed up. There were people who were complete strangers and people who didn't know anybody who was going through this situation, but they just felt affected, and
Why do you think people that had nothing to do with it showed up to this rally?
Because I think that they understand the importance of support and giving your voice, you know. And I think it's people who truly care, and they care about our country, you know. And we're supporting people who are a good example and people who have changed. And that's what
that day we went to the ICE building, but tomorrow we'll go to City Hall. The next day we'll go to the school district building. You know what I mean? It's the same struggle.
It's basically just about the poor communities. It's not just like, and they always try to find ways for us to see our differences and never none of our similarities. Because at the end of the day, we all hungry, we all cold, and we all poor.
We're all people, you know.
Right. It's not about just right. It's not about Cambodian rights. It's not about Afro-American rights. It's about human rights.
People should be judged based on, you know, their character and who they are. Not, you know, that they're an immigrant or that they're black or that they're white or that they're rich or that they're poor. People should be judged based on who they are. And that's all we want, you know. It's just a chance to be in front of a judge and say, look, I'm a good person. And have the entire community, which would come out and say, this person is a good person, you know. That's what we want. It's just a chance to not be a number, but to be a human being.
So what are some things that are coming up for the One Love movement? What are you guys up to right now?
We're taking a little trip next week to Cambodia to visit the kids that we work with for like a couple months now. We're basically going to try to get in contact, if possible, with the deportees that's already been sent back to Cambodia and see what's really going on, how they're getting treated, and see how they're making out, how life is going to be for them. It's going to be way rougher than it is here.
I was going to say, we get a hand account on the actual deportees that's been actually affected by this. So we get to meet them, get to speak to them, get to hear their own words, how they're being treated, what they had to see when they got there, and basically what got them there in the first place.
And we're just going to post videos every day so that everybody that's following us or any movement can know more about the situation.
Yeah, it's going to be our first trip to Cambodia, so we want people to be part of the journey too.
And you know, you say you guys are going to blog and put videos. Where can people go to look for them?
We're going to be blogging for AZI at theazi.com and onelovemovement.com.
So is there anything else that you guys want to say to people that are watching right now?
There's a lot of big things that are happening, and you know, it's the first baby steps into making that big change. So if anybody, you know, wants to support the cause, they can visit our website, onelovemovement.com.
And we're really excited about all the support that we've been getting and all the support that we want to give to other people, so please be in touch. Yeah.
Okay. Good luck on your trip.
Thank you.
And you know, thanks for coming on and you know, sharing your thoughts and you know, background info of what's actually happening.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
As we saw here in Philadelphia, with people coming together to march and protest against unjust deportation, a message of unity is spreading throughout the world. Standing up alone to fight is only the beginning. Once we join forces, then change is possible.
Martin Luther King taught that, you know, violence goes way beyond than just me hitting another human being or physically harming another human being.
Students not having books, that's a form of violence, and being oppressed is a form of violence. Education being taken away or in jeopardy, that's violence.
We come to school for half the day, every single day, half a year. And you know what I'm saying, we have to come to like the stipulations of being oppressed and being underfunded and not having supplies.
Being prepared to be like test takers is not what people vision in their future.
It's so heartbreaking because schools are failing students.
They are being prepared for like low wage jobs or being sent to prison, and they not, like, most of them like want to go to college and they can't achieve that goal because they weren't taught.
When we say we want to like be a nonviolent school, we don't just say that we don't want to be pushed around, but we don't want to be talked down to, we don't want to be taught to the test, we don't want our critical thinking to be taken away.
Instead of like just not doing anything about the injustices that are going on inside the schools. We would rather work towards these changes, but not in a violent way, in a productive way.
We want to do it in a way that is effective now and 20 years from now.
PSU, we took Martin Luther King's teachings and his lessons, and we learned the consequences of there being just one leader, one voice being heard all the time. And we learned that you have to have many voices.
We don't discriminate between like blacks or whites or Latinos. The way Martin Luther King had it was just like to show unity between different people in the community. So to keep everybody together.
The way PSU has integrated his teachings into our campaign is that he made this clear distinction about being nonviolent and being not violent. Being not violent is, of course, not being violent, but at the same time not doing anything as well. But being nonviolent is being active towards it.
This campaign is powerful because it's like a big step to getting where we need to be. I am a junior and I only have one more year to really try to make a change.
We understand that things are going to happen slowly, and the best thing is to keep building it up, do not quit on it.
And I'm just really looking forward to, saving the youth in the future, because that's really who I'm really fighting for. I hear my mom say, well, all I want is for you to learn better than I did. So all I want for the young people that's only in elementary school, 6th and 7th grade, is to learn better than we did.
To have youth in the forefront saying that we want a non-violence campaign in our schools and in our city, just in general, we want to be non-violent. That's where the power comes from, is look who's leading the campaign.
It is clear to see that throughout the world and in our own backyards, people are realizing that the only way to be able to defend their rights and be heard is by coming together and taking up the same fight with one another.
The Media Mobilizing Project is a network of community organizations and leaders building a movement to end poverty led by the poor. Too often, people in our city and beyond stand alone in silence, divided and isolated. And so through radio, the internet, and TV, we seek to tell the untold stories of Philadelphia and beyond, because movements begin with the telling of untold stories.
Until next time, you can stay updated by following MMPTV on Facebook or by visiting our website, MediaMobilizing.org. For MMPTV, I'm Audrey Trainham.
And I'm Miguel Andrade.
And thanks for watching.
Media Mobilizing Project